Thank you, G-Defy, for being a sponsor of Newsmax Podcast. G-Defy shoes are the best choice for walking, running, and standing. If you spend a lot of time on your feet, these are the shoes for you. G-Defy's patented Verso Shock technology aligns your posture and perfects your gait. Go to gdefy.com and use the code MAX for $30 off on orders of $130 or more.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for Friday, July 5th, 2024. Doesn't feel appropriate to say happy Friday because it's a Friday that feels like a Saturday already for a lot of Americans. Maybe you're fortunate enough to be one of them, have the day off, long weekend. Hope you had a fantastic, patriotic, and safe 4th of July holiday. Maybe you had some time to watch the Lee Greenwood God Bless America concert on Newsmax. That was awesome. Big and Rich, the Oak Ridge Boys, and some others. Or maybe you watched the New York Yankees Cincinnati Reds game, which was also awesome, at least the beginning of it. It was delayed due to a patriotic standing from several players. Have you heard about this? Instead of unpatriotic kneeling, and I don't know that I've ever seen or heard of anything like this happening before, but 4 players, 2 from each team, 2 from New York, 2 from Cincinnati, refused to leave the field after the Star-Spangled Banner was played because they wanted to be the very last person left on the field saluting the flag. So the game was literally starting, right? The other players were taking the field, and the 4 were still standing on the baseline, hat over heart. Finally, Aaron Boone, the Yankees manager, he came out and got his players who didn't seem really too happy about it. So the Reds players ended up winning the standoff, and then they won the game. So not sure what's going on with the Yankees. They're in a bit of a slump right now. By the way, I did do a podcast yesterday, Newsmax Daily Independence Day edition. If you missed it, I suggest you go back and listen to it. A lot of good stuff on there. And I revisited President Trump's big Independence Day, it was actually pre-Independence Day speech at Mount Rushmore several years ago. I'm sure you remember that. Meanwhile, President Biden remains the focus of the world lens right now. He'll be heading to a campaign event in Wisconsin today with his handlers, Jill and Hunter, then home to Delaware tonight for the holiday weekend. This after hosting military families at the annual White House barbecue yesterday.
Jill and I, Secretary Austin, Mrs. Austin, we're honored. So many of your families are here on this special day. I really mean it. You represent only 1%, not quite 1% of the American population. But you keep 99% of the rest of the population safe. It's you. You're all volunteers. You do it. You got me, man. I'm not going anywhere.
During his initial address, the president was reading a teleprompter, and then he wasn't.
One last thing. I used to think when I was a senator, there were always congestion on the highways. There's no congestion anymore. None. We go on the highway, there's no congestion. And so the way they get me to stop talking, they'll say, we just shut down all the roads, Mr. President. You're going to lose all the votes if you don't get in. But anyway, I'll be back out. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you.
He says he's not going anywhere. You got me. And then says whatever that was that he said about the traffic and stuff. This comes after his meeting with 20 Democratic governors on Wednesday, many of whom said they have Biden's back, some of whom expressed some concerns. This is Newsmax Sr. White House correspondent James Rosen at the White House.
Governor Tim Walz, Democrat of Minnesota and chairman of the Democratic Governors Association, led 2 of his colleagues to the stakeout position on the White House driveway on the North Lawn. Walz spoke first, emphasizing the perils of a second Trump term, and then stating rather non-committally where Mr. Biden was concerned that the meeting had focused on ways to win. Then came freshman Governor Wes Moore of Maryland.
We always believe that when you love someone, you tell them the truth. And I think we came in and we were honest about the feedback that we were getting. We were honest about the concerns that we were hearing from people. And we were also honest about the fact that as the president continued to tell us and show us that he was all in, that we said that we would stand with him. Because as Governor Walz said, the president has always had our backs. We're going to have his back as well.
Governor Kathy Hochul of New York, who has sometimes been critical of the Biden administration in its handling of immigration and the southwest border, put an even more emphatic point on the message.
President Joe Biden is in it to win it. And all of us said we pledged our support to him because The stakes could not be higher.
That left Governor Walz as the only one of the 3 Democratic governors who approached the reporters after this critical meeting who hadn't yet said anything positive about President Biden or his place atop the Democratic ticket until this reporter posed the first question in the brief Q&A session that ensued, namely, is President Biden fit for office? Do you think he's fit for office?
Yes, fit for office. President has three and a half years of delivering for us, going through what we've all been through. None of us are denying. Thursday night was a bad performance. It was a bad hit, if you will, on that. But it doesn't impact what I believe he's delivering. What we saw in there today was a guy who was the guy that all of us believed in the first time, who could beat Donald Trump and did beat Donald Trump.
Bottom line, the White House has pleaded with its Democratic allies for just a few days in which for President Biden to show that he remains fit for the presidency, both physically and cognitively. And they've ramped up his schedule in order to have an opportunity to display as much, including more campaign stops, a forthcoming sit-down interview with ABC News' George Stephanopoulos, and other kinds of unscripted events, once again designed to show that President Biden might not walk or talk as well or debate as well as he once did, as he said in Raleigh last week, but that he remains someone who is fit for the presidency. The truth is, a sword of Damocles hangs over President Biden's head with every single event that he does or holds or participates in at this point.
Thank you, James. I'm pretty sure they'll do whatever they could possibly do to avoid unscripted events like last night's barbecue. Governor Hochul and the others that you heard there didn't mention that Biden told them he needs more rest and wants to stop holding events after 8 p.m. That's even being confirmed by ABC and NBC. And a lot of the focus and what you will be hearing about throughout the weekend will be President Biden's sit-down with ABC's George Stephanopoulos airing tonight. ABC, under pressure to show unedited portions of the interview, has confirmed that it will release a transcript of the unedited interview later today. But again, the transcript could be edited, or they could just omit stuff from the transcript, but that would be a huge risk at this point in time, right? One of the best and most informative segments from yesterday's Newsmax shows came from Wake Up America with host Rob Schmitt and former senator and 2016 presidential candidate Rick Santorum.
If everybody's sitting here rooting and saying we're going to get rid of Joe Biden, we're going to get rid of Joe Biden, that means we're getting Kamala Harris, and that's where that was always Joe Biden's ace in the hole. He picked her because no one else would want her to run and replace him. So I don't think that changes. I think there are still people thinking that I'd rather have Joe Biden than what could be an absolute disaster. You think Biden's numbers are low. Kamala Harris's are worse, and she has the ability to go
Senator,
much further down.
that is up to the American people. Okay, that's why we have a constitution. There is an apparatus in place to address a situation like this. Okay, it's called the 25th Amendment. I don't think Mayor Pete's going to invoke that along with Alejandro Mayorkas, but Senator, it's called Icarus syndrome. Sometimes when you're too close to something, Icarus was too close to the sun. It's tough to see the forest for the trees. Okay, so we all work in this and cover this stuff every single day. We're really close to it. But when I talk to my parents, who that's an outside perspective, they can't believe it. They can't believe he's still president right now. This is what should happen constitutionally. Joe Biden should resign. He should step down or be 25th Amendment. He should be removed from office. Kamala Harris should be the nominee. She can choose her running mate, Stacey Abrams, whomever, and then the American people get to decide on November 5th who they want representing them. Because right now, you cannot sit there and tell me that Joe Biden is running the country. It is Ron Klain. It's Jill Biden. I didn't know that. I thought it was Barack Obama, but Jill Biden apparently it's Hunter Biden. Okay, it's Susan Rice. It's Anita Dunn. It is not Joe Biden. Joe Biden is done, and it is bad for our country every second that he is in charge. And to your point, yes, he probably has good days and bad days. But the White House acknowledged that he has sundowners, which is a symptom of dementia. If you are effective between the hours of 10 a.m. and 5 p.m., or I believe it was 4 p.m., that is a tacit acknowledgement of sundowners, which is a symptom of dementia. I think that was an unforced error, but they gave away the whole game right there, Senator.
The problem is, Rob, is that you have someone in the wings to replace him who is, in the eyes of many, and I might even agree with this, is that we have someone who's simply not competent herself. That's the problem, is that you have someone who's simply not competent.
Senator, but dementia and not being bright are two different things. Okay, Kamala Harris does not have dementia. okay? Those are two very different things. And then on November 5th, the voters, the American people, they can decide.
Absolutely dead-on analysis from Rob Finnerty and Senator Santorum, who, of course, is a politician and telling us, as a politician, what the party is thinking and what might be going on behind the scenes there, the thought process, right? What's best for the party. On yesterday's Daily, which, again, you have to go back and listen to if you missed it, Hogan Gidley said if Kamala Harris was competent, Biden would have already been gone. But Rob is making a very valid point for the people. If Joe Biden is not capable of running in November, a few months from now, then he shouldn't be running the country now. Former Republican Congressman Jack Kingston of Georgia, also on Wake Up America, is like the first person or the only person that I've heard thus far sort of defend the vice president.
I want to say this about Kamala Harris. She has been criticized, but she's not an idiot. And she had a decent record in California. Y'all will remember she had an incredible debate where early on everybody said, well, she's obviously going to be the nominee. She makes the most sense. Now, she lost a lot of that, but I don't think she's the idiot everybody thinks she is. That, we'll just smear her. I think if she became president in the next week or two, she would have the aura of the commander-in-chief. They'd have all kinds of B-roll of her meeting the troops, meeting with international leaders, meeting with members of Congress. I think they could build her image up sufficiently to make her a very competitive candidate.
Right.
But Joe Biden should not have his finger on the nuclear trigger based on the performance that we saw last Thursday.
I agree. And we'd have, if Kamala became president, right, served out the rest of Joe's term, there'd be this media rally around the flag effect with Kamala. I mean, my goodness, they would hail her the conquering hero. Joe Biden, the true statesman, did what was right for the country, and Kamala is the next great thing until November 5th.
Again, that's Rob Finnerty, host of Wake Up America on Newsmax with former Republican Congressman Jack Kingston of Georgia. And I presume Rob is insinuating that Donald Trump would trounce her in the general election November 5th. The former president apparently had a relatively quiet July 4th holiday. Trump's next campaign rally's coming up on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, July 9th. It's going to be at his Doral Golf Club near Miami. And there is speculation, or more speculation now, I should say, that Trump will be introducing his running mate at that rally, which is only days ahead of the Republican National Convention. And speculation has also grown that that running mate is going to be Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Let's go back to Wake Up America.
With President Biden's re-election campaign floundering, President Trump's campaign is working to secure every potential vote at home and abroad. Newsmax Jerusalem correspondent Daniel Cohen, he is live in the Old City with the initiative to recruit Americans living in Israel to vote Trump in November. Daniel?
Yeah. Hey, good morning. The Trump campaign is hoping to collect the votes of 500,000 American citizens living here in Israel. The effort comes amid criticism of President Biden's schizophrenic support for Israel's war to destroy Hamas and a wave of anti-Semitism that was unleashed in Joe Biden's America. The Trump campaign believes that the 500,000 American voters in Israel could influence the elections in swing states where the vote was razor thin in 2020. States like Pennsylvania, states like Wisconsin. President Trump has mostly stayed out of the public eye since Biden's feeble performance during last week's debate exposed serious cognitive decline. Here's President Trump blasting Biden's foreign policy weakness.
Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
Under President Biden, anti-Israel protesters have attacked Jews at synagogues, outside Jewish schools in predominantly Jewish neighborhoods, and on American college campuses. The chairman of the Republican Party in Israel, his name is Mark Zell, says President Biden has chosen to prioritize pro-Palestinian voices while abandoning the state of Israel and its security. Even before the debate, Biden's support was struggling with the Democrat Party deeply divided over Israel. In 2020, the turnout for American citizens in Israel was 25%. The goal of the Republican Party this year is 60%. Ladies, the Trump campaign has a full head of steam as it prepares for the Republican National Convention, which kicks off on Monday, July 15th. That's less than 2 weeks from today. Now back to you.
Thank you, Dapper Dan. You can't see him, obviously, but that's the sharp-dressed Jerusalem correspondent, Daniel Cohen. And I have been telling you all week that Newsmax host Rob Schmitt has been doing his show in Israel this week. Let's finally catch up with Rob.
All right, welcome back from Jerusalem tonight. On Monday, we traveled south about 90 minutes from here to visit the sites of the Nova Music Festival along with the devastated kibbutz of Nir Oz. Now, these two locations represent many of the most terrifying stories from the October 7th attack. Both are located within a mile of Gaza. They were among the first places to be hit. Hundreds from these locations were killed. Dozens remain hostage to Hamas to this day. Take a look. So if you followed what happened on October 7th, this is a very familiar site. This is the site of the Nova Music Festival. I am surrounded by the faces of young people, young Israelis who were either kidnapped or most of them were killed here in this place. It's a very, very, very difficult place to come to, and to hear the story of what happened that day is even harder. And as you listen to it, about a mile to the west, you can hear artillery fire, rockets, because we're only 1 mile from central Gaza, where the war continues on. And we were told as we covered this today that if at any point a siren goes off, we have about 5 seconds to get into a bomb shelter, which are placed different areas around us. What was the first thing that you noticed where you were like, something's wrong, that something was off?
So 6:30 in the morning, they start with the rockets. And it not was normal because it was artillery, a lot of rockets. We stay in the car until 8 in the morning. 8 in the morning, we start to hearing a shotgun, and I feel like something happened. And I said, okay. I saw a lot of people start running. We saw a car with a lot of terrorists. They start to shoot all over the car. So we get out of the car and we start running. I saw people start to fall.
Other people that were running?
Yeah, my friend.
How many terrorists?
Wow, it was a lot. I don't know, 30. At this point, I saw a tank, the IDF tank, and I said, okay, they come to help us. So I ran into the tank. When I get to the tank, I understand the soldiers in the tank, they burn and kidnapped. So I was under the tank. 10 in the morning, Hamas, they saw me and they shot me on my leg. They sent 2 RPG.
Oh, it's okay.
Nobody coming. Can I call my mom?
Yeah.
And I said, Mom, I think I'm gonna die because they shot me and nobody coming. No police, no the army.
Did you see people walking around you as you were laying underneath the tank? Were there other?
All this time I saw the terrorists.
Yeah.
It was a fight.
How many times have you told this story?
Wow. A lot. I feel like I need to do something for the hostages, something for the family of all these young people who murder here.
So now we have the story of Nir Oz, a small kibbutz about 1 mile to the east of Gaza. 416 people resided here before October 7th. Today, a handful only remain. 117 people were either kidnapped or killed here on October 7th.
That is Newsmax host Rob Schmitt, who has done fabulous, emotional reporting in Israel throughout the week, speaking with survivors of the October 7th attack and families of victims there as well. As we enjoy this amazing American holiday weekend, right? Let's not forget about the 120 or so hostages there, including several Americans that remain in captivity of Hamas. And regardless of what they say, The United States does not know how many of them there are and how many of them are still alive. Catch Rob Schmitt tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern, as he wraps up his week there in Israel. Some hard-hitting stuff. The U.S. stock markets reopened this morning after being closed yesterday for the 4th of July holiday. This morning's jobs report, the big story, showing the economy added slightly more jobs than the 200,000 that were expected. 206,000 jobs gained in the month of June. That's less than 218,000 that were gained in May. And the unemployment rate unexpectedly rose to 4.1%. Unemployment rate rose to 4.1%, the highest since late 2021. And again, all of this information going to make it difficult for the feds to gauge an interest rate cut, and that's what the markets are supposedly waiting for. Also, from the business page this morning, Disney heiress Abigail Disney, a Democrat mega donor, said she and other mega donors plan to withhold donations until President Joe Biden drops out of the race. And a New York Democrat, Representative Joseph Morelli, the top Democrat on the House Administration Committee, sent a letter to his colleagues informing them of his intent to file a resolution in response to the Supreme Court's immunity ruling earlier this week. Morelli looking to reverse the decision and ensure, quote, that no president is above the law. Make sure you keep up with all of the news all weekend on Newsmax and the Newsmax app. It's available in the App Store and Google Play. You can watch it from anywhere on the app, so easy to keep up with while you're out and about all holiday weekend. And make sure you're watching Newsmax Plus as well for the most complete lineup of all your favorite shows and guests. Go to newsmaxplus.com. Get signed up if you are not yet signed up. I'm Tony Marino. Thank you so much for listening to the Newsmax Daily Podcast. As always, please subscribe from whatever podcast platform you may be listening on. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend. Be safe and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
It's our America. We conquered it. We built it. Great values like honesty and fairness. Great courage. A great nation needs a free press. Newsmax is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to Newsmax when they really need to know. They watch Newsmax TV at home. On the free Newsmax app, they go to Newsmax.com. Start today. Newsmax is real news for real people.